here live at the Green Fingers Wildlife Sanctuary. My name is Chinedu, and I'm the sanctuary keeper, and I'll be talking to you today about another wonderful friend we have here in the sanctuary. But before I talk about that, I must explain, I must share about what we are all about here. Now, the Green Fingers Wildlife Sanctuary is a space where animals that have been rescued from the wildlife bushmeat markets or the wildlife trade. These animals are rescued or from human wildlife conflicts and are brought here. Now, here in the sanctuary is more or less like a rehab home for them. Now, we give them the opportunity to recover from certain kind of trauma, and we now begin to look for places where these animals can safely go back into the wild or in other safe areas. And um, we all we do basically is a charity. It's a charity organization, and what we do is basically sponsored by wonderful people just like you who are watching. And we also do this to educate people about some of the species we have here in Nigeria. And today we'll be talking about a very exciting one. Um, and it might be, to some people, it might just be just a small species, but we're talking about a species that has actually been heavily persecuted here in Nigeria. Over the past weeks, we've done quite a lot of species. We've seen the African wolf, we've seen the Kusimanse, we've seen the genet, we've seen snakes, we've seen uh, the pangolin. That's another mammal. We've seen some primates also. So definitely we've seen quite a few species. And today we'll be talking about a very interesting reptile here today. And the reptile is actually here with me. I have two of them here, and I'm just going to show you in a bit. But before I go into that, I would like to tell you it's a reptile. Yes, I've said that first. And let's meet them. Let's meet them. So this is the African hinged back tortoise. The hinged back tortoise. Now this fella here looks like he's having he has a red lipstick on him, but he's actually a boy. And yes, seems he loves nodding to the camera. Yes, like he's following what we're doing. But yes, this is a boy. It's a hinged back tortoise. That's what the side view is like. Now, why is it called a hinged back? It's because of this marking here that looks like a hinge. So for most of them, the species, the shell goes on straight. Then there's a bend, a kink on the end, and you see this hinge-like structure that actually runs all around the tortoise. So that's it. Okay, so that's our boy. Now, how do we know it's a boy? Male tortoises have
Hi, I'm Lynn Santa, producer of the multi-award-winning Truth Bomb documentaries Land of the Free. These films reveal truths about the trophy hunting industry that nobody has ever dared to reveal before.
It was the Safari Club.
Safari Club.
Safari Club is just a dirty word. Safari Club International.
You can watch the films on MojoStreaming.com, and then please write to your local MP to urge them to vote in favour of Henry Smith's bill to ban trophy hunting when it is presented to.
So this is our girl, and our girl has a short tail. She has a short tail, and the hinge is still quite obvious on her body. Okay, so that's her. That's the female. Okay. So let's talk a bit about the hingeback tortoise. Now, the hingeback tortoise is actually found, was also known as the forest tortoise, and the scientific name is called Kinexis erosa. That's what it's called, the Kinexis erosa. Now, it's commonly known as the serrated hingeback tortoise, or it's a species of tortoise that is found that is within the Tetsunidae. It's a family, and it's indigenous to the forests and the marshes here of Central and West Africa. And Nigeria, as we know, is in West Africa, so we'll expect to find it. And there are other kind of different types of subspecies of this hingeback tortoise that can be found here, here in Nigeria. So it's found in different forests, in the swamp forests here in Lagos, Nigeria, and all the way into the rainforest down south here of Nigeria. You can find them in other parts of West African and Central African countries. You can find them in Angola, Burkina Faso, Republic of Congo, Ivory Coast, Guinea, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Guinea-Bissau, and all through that range. Okay. So basically, we're going to see just a few things. We're going to talk about them, and they are omnivorous in nature. Now they are omnivorous, which basically means they feed on both plants and they feed on flesh. That could be a carrion, leftover meat, maybe meat found an animal has passed in the forest. These tortoises also help in the cleaning up um, animal remains found within the forest. And they actually also are able to arc their back 90 degrees downwards to protect their tail while they're sleeping and from predators. They are also very, very good swimmers. They are also very good swimmers. And they also, because they're very good swimmers, and females lay about 4 eggs in the ground, and she covers it up with leaves. So they feed on leaves, grass, invertebrates, carrion, like I said, weeds, and also fruits. Now, especially then they are threatened a lot by hunting, bushmeat, and in the traditional use. But I'm going to talk about specifically about their the problems which they face here in Nigeria. Here in Nigeria, they are faced with excessive hunting for the traditional markets. Any traditional markets anybody visits here in Nigeria, you will find these hingeback tortoises because they are being kept and they are used for traditional medicine. Now, the processes, we have seen the processes, and they are quite gruesome. So I wouldn't want to, not at this time, let you know how these animals are basically being used, because there's one belief or the other that they can be used to generate wealth. So these animals are used even while alive in those kind of rituals. And it's important that we all understand that some of these animals, actually, according to IUCN, they are actually a threatened species because their numbers are not even well accounted for, even here in West Africa. So their numbers are declining rapidly. They are losing their habitats and the excessive hunting for bushmeat. Now, we have kept quite well, we've kept this little small population, and yes, you can frequently see them mating. But as much as possible, we want to create that kind of environment for them so that they can procreate, and we can actually um, find a way to repopulate them even here locally in Nigeria. Now, as much as possible, we have to educate ourselves to let us understand that every animal has a role to play here in the ecosystem, and here in Nigeria is no exception. We must do all we can to protect these species so that we don't lose them in the future. Their numbers are rapidly declining. At an earlier point in time, a few years ago, you could see a large number and people were harvesting them in large numbers. So it's either they use the full tortoise or they use their shells. That's basically the empty shells. And you can imagine what they have to go through for them to get the empty shell. Now, education is the only way forward for us, to raise awareness on this and for this endangered species. And as much as we do that, we are definitely sure that we are going to conserve this species, this wonderful and iconic species, the hinged back tortoise. Aren't they beautiful? I mean, they're so unique. Um, they're so unique compared to, I mean, some of the other tortoises I've actually seen. Sometimes people confuse them for um, some for sulcatas, but they are not sulcatas. They actually don't grow much bigger than this. I mean, you could find some species that have doubled the size, but you wouldn't find that much bigger than this kind of species. And you can actually see the front is, you can see some, you can see this kind of like scales in the forearm here, but that is actually absent in the hind legs, and they are able to tuck in this in to protect themselves from predators, and that's one of their defense, one of the ways they are able to protect themselves. But these front limbs don't go that far, but they actually use it to protect their heads when they tuck in their heads sharply. So you see their mouth has tiny sharp, like a it looks blunt, a beak there, which they're also able to use to tear flesh and eat other foods. So that's is for the African, well, the hindback tortoise. But one more thing I must leave you with: different tortoises have different patterns. So this one has a different pattern. Other species have other kinds of other types have other kind of patterns, and that's what we're able to use to tell sometimes subspecies, and sometimes, and you can see their shells. Some of them have smooth shells, some of them have quite rough shells also. So there are quite a number of subspecies of these kinds of tortoises. But your help with your help, we are able to work with these species. With your help, we're able to support these species. With your help, we're able to provide the necessary care that we have to for these tortoises. Now, there's a link in the description box below. You can donate to us to help us and support our work down here in Nigeria, and we will definitely keep educating as much as we can to raise more awareness about our iconic species here in Nigeria. So thank you for today, and it was great seeing you all, and I definitely look forward to seeing you all same time. Say bye. Say bye. I call him John. John has run off, but I'll go get him now.